How are you, Ed? Good. Yeah. All right. Thank you. Yeah, should be good.
Me? Other Caitlin, sorry.
What? Yeah, she told me. Watch game last night?
I hate that rule, and I'm really hoping they're gonna get rid of it.
I was like, you gotta be kidding me.
Worst rule in hockey, and it's a stupid rule.
Oh, yeah, I was so angry.
You're on
I
the
was like,
YouTube.
when they showed the
I
line,
don't care.
when they showed the line and they stopped it, I'm like, are you kidding me?
No, wait, no, we're on YouTube. Right?
That's okay.
I'm gonna make sure it's
I hope they hear me. This, they have a rule in the NHL that if you score a game, or score a goal, and you score a goal, the other team can review it for offsides, no matter how many times the puck has been passed before the goal. If it's offsides, they can review it.
Okay.
And they negated the goal, and I don't think that's right. If the puck gets passed several times and the official didn't call offsides, don't give the other team a chance to negate a goal. That's not fair.
Yeah.
And they did that.
Yep.
I just,
That's a
Tyler had a rough night last night, though.
That is a weird rule in general, because most sports it's called the ref didn't see it, you didn't do it. Like that's usually how that works.
They got robbed on another one because they
Yeah.
got called for an icing that really
Yeah,
wasn't an icing. And it ended up with a defensive face-off and ended up with a goal.
Mhm.
And that would have never happened had they called it right, but you can't review that.
Right.
That is-
NBC off and turned Michigan on, but now Michigan was like 2 minutes behind though.
BC drives me nuts.
Oh, I know.
They can hear that too on
I don't like watching
Yeah,
hockey
you know.
on TV. I like watching it live.
Personal opinion.
Buddy,
Morning.
got started with the TA of what was the article? 14.8.
Faculty offices.
I had that as I thought it was a different number. Maybe not. Anyway, faculty offices TA. I sent to you, Graham. I don't know if you had a chance to take a look at it, and I did print out copies. So I didn't get it to you until yesterday. 4 proposals. You guys need paper copies of these?
That would be helpful. I didn't get a chance to. Thank you.
Send these around.
Go.
Thank you for making the font bigger.
On one of them.
Although I did bring my glasses today. But
It just
it's like, why do you do that?
Oh yeah, on Word you can vote on this. So you see this little on the left. You click on the bar, it'll alternate between showing this stuff and not showing it.
You don't need paper.
Are you all getting in the back? Do you have any extras floating around for the folks in the back?
Well, there's a whole pile of extras here.
Okay,
So,
there should be hope.
Yeah.
anybody need paper copies? All right, hang on. Let me get you a set. I don't have the coronavirus. Mhm.
Yeah, you just say that one, so this one's for you, and then we.
I think that's a set.
Oh, thank you.
Anybody else need paper copies? Good.
All right, so what I've handed out, 4 proposals from administration, 14 14.14 is the selection of new faculty, our counter proposal to your initial. 14.16, access to college mail. 14.17, committees. And 14.12, retired faculty members. I also got your proposals on the department chair, MOU, and faculty evaluations. We'll need to caucus at some point here early
Okay.
on this morning, I think, to kind of kick those around a little bit more before we
Do you want
respond.
paper copies or?
I have 3 or 4 copies on. Do you guys need copies of that?
This is
Faculty evaluation.
your counter?
The ones we sent.
Yeah, do you have a few copies available?
Sure.
You have 4?
I think I printed out like 4 or
2 or
5.
3?
We did miss the.
That'll work. Thank you, Jim.
I got some.
Thank you.
Oh, I thought that was stapled.
Oh,
Oh.
just individual?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, those are, the evaluation ones are all on one sheet.
Okay.
The department chair is stapled.
Mhm.
Here, we can share.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that over there.
In terms of the 4 proposals we've set out, I think most of
We'll caucus.
our suggestions pretty self-explanatory. What we're essentially trying to do with most of this is to stick with the status quo on these 4 topics, trying to codify what we think is the current practice. Frankly, I think it's worked pretty well. If you have specific questions, we're happy to do that, or if you need to review it during caucus, we can do that as well. I realize we just got this to you yesterday.
Yeah, I forwarded on as soon as I got it. I'm not sure how much of a chance our team has had to take a look at it. I thought it was all pretty straightforward, at least. We may just need a few minutes to talk about, whether and what we would change. Does anyone have immediate questions on any of those, or?
Can we define legitimate college business?
Well, having a definition, I think it'd be difficult to do. We're open to suggestions if you have any. My concern about those kinds of things is that if once you start trying to define something, that kind of concept, which in its nature is pretty broad, is invariably fall short, leave something out. And
Do you have any examples, preferably real, but theoretical would be acceptable, of illegitimate or not legitimate college business?
I'm talking about college mail
Mhm.
article, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's anything, sending around, get involved with this group or side businesses, things of that nature.
Political.
Yeah. Basically, college business, we're thinking, is just the normal, you're teaching, your classes,
Stuff
those kinds of
Reasonably
things.
related to.
Most everybody has personal emails these days as well, so our view is all that, everything personal should stay on the personal side, college business and college side.
Okay. It might be something for us to think about. Yeah, that type of thing is hard to define. Any other questions offhand?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, and some of those things too. I mean, my view is both sides got to be kind of reasonable about it. Mail, if we see something happen, it should be happening. It's not like someone's going to out and get fired. You get the kind of thing, hey, stick to policy. If in the end there's a big disagreement over it, that's something that could, in theory, go to grievance and arbitration. Arbitrator will make sure both sides are being reasonable. Obviously, we don't want to get to that point. Can't say I've ever had to get all the way to that point over something like this, but if you have language where you think there's something that more specificity, let us know. We'll
Okay.
consider it.
All right. I think I understand. On hours, first look at the faculty evaluation one. So this was one where we had made the last proposal, but in the interest of moving things along, we tried to take a closer look at your previous proposal and try and, come up with something that should satisfy what we thought was most important to each side. So one thing we kind of tried to do throughout here was, in your proposal,
That's yours? Yep.
in your proposal, which everything that we basically kind of worked off of your proposal to a large extent for this, we tried to, rather than just say this will be in IMM this, we've talked about this before, we're trying to, get as much black and white with as few references as possible. And since the stuff in this IMM wasn't terribly long, we thought we'd just try and incorporate that into the language. And that's kind of done throughout. We took the pieces of the relevant sections of that IMM and tried to put them here in language, and you'll kind of see that throughout. I think the one thing that may be the biggest conceptual difference is this idea of having an evaluation committee. There is, definitely some interest on our side and, kind of a collaboratively taking a closer look at some of the things that go into evaluation. Not saying we have to make those huge changes now, but we think that's something that would be valuable to just kind of look at. So we've put back in the proposal on the evaluation committee. In section 2, we made a couple changes here. The formal observations, there were reference in the IMM to a form that's done on, so we just put, classroom visits documented on the form, student evaluations submitted on the form. Those forms are both referenced in that IMM. We put back in the review of the professional development and learning plan because we felt that was an important component of the process for faculty who don't yet have continuing contract. So just kind of clarifying that that's just for those non-continuing contract faculty. And then at the end, just, kind of making it clear that faculty can put their responses to things if they choose, kind of in tandem with that evaluation. In the procedures, not sure if this is already done. I think some people said in some cases it wasn't being done, but we think it'd be good for people to just kind of get that evaluation before the evaluation conference so they can, have some time to look at it and digest it and, where appropriate, have, kind of a productive meeting with their supervisor about it. So we put that in there for that purpose. Most of the other changes are, again, just kind of pulling out pieces of the IMM and just trying to codify them in the language here. We did have one question, and that was in section 1D. You saw where we had highlighted secondary supervisor. Question came up of, at this point, which faculty have a primary and a secondary? We weren't sure who that applied to.
All faculty members who are non-West Campus faculty have a secondary. The provost is a secondary. So on the other 4 campuses, the provost serves as a secondary. We have in the nursing program, the associate dean of nursing is the direct supervisor of the faculty, and then the dean obviously is a secondary. So there's secondary consideration, particularly on the other campuses, because the provosts are the chief executives of the other campuses. So they've got ongoing dialogues and information and connection with faculty related issues. So it's important that their feedback be assimilated.
Okay, yeah, that helps. We just weren't sure exactly what universe of faculty that was. Okay. Any questions from your side right now?
No, I think we need to talk a little bit further on it. Seems pretty straightforward.
Okay.
About the MOU.
Yes, the MOU, we've gone to, rather than have these sort of dueling templates that we're working off here, we took your template, and the changes you see are our changes to your last proposal from our last meeting back in February. And so just kind of, scanning, you can quickly see, where the differences are. We've accepted most of the language that you put in here. We've just, we still believe that it would be important to the faculty and valuable to the positions and to the people that take the positions for the supplements to be increased over what they currently are. Right now for department chairs, our position is 6,500. For program directors in workforce development, also 6,500. For those in the Division of Nursing and Health Programs, we're at 5,500. We appreciated the, consideration for having additional release time where that's, necessary for the accreditations. But we thought it would still be more helpful to just kind of explicitly spell those things out. So that's what we've tried to do with our bullet points in section C there. That first part of paragraph D is with what else we propose duplicative, so that's why there's that big strike there. We were kind of talked about this a little bit last time, but from the conversations we've had, it doesn't seem that the 2-course limit in summer is, people didn't feel it was really that necessary or helpful. They felt that they could do the, the usual sort of overload that's allowed during the summer without it compromising their ability to undertake those duties at all. So that's why we went to that position there. We struck the next part there for about the 90 contact hours for the health programs people. We weren't certain exactly what that, what was appropriately analogous for them. The 11 credits hours for, arts and sciences, for instance, versus how many contact hours for, the program directors who that sort of calculation applies to. So we struck that not because we don't think there should be a limit. We just, we weren't sure what it was. Our preference is that the current limits, for all faculty apply for the department chairs and program directors as well. The remaining language changes, I think we accepted all of those.
Any questions offhand or want to talk about it first?
Can you talk about it?
Maybe now's a good time to do a caucus and talk about our respective proposals, and I'm sure we'll have some questions. Do we have a same one?
Yes, always.
All right,
Want to do that?
yeah, we'll come let you know when we're ready. And
We'll do the same once. Trying to watch my email too. If you email.
uh-huh.